She arrived at Valamont not as a guest, but as a storm long overdue. The wind tugged at her cloak like a whisper from the dead. The stones beneath her boots bore no welcome. No servants bowed, no trumpets sounded. She walked alone. The guards at the palace gates didn't question her. They recognized the seal in her hand, but not the name on her tongue. That was fine. They would learn it soon enough. Her name was Elara. Her mother was the queen. Valamont was a kingdom tucked between the sea cliffs of Denmark and the mist-heavy woods of old Prussia. A place where power passed from bloodline to bloodline, where secrets rotted under marble floors, and loyalty was rarely more than ceremony. It was a kingdom carved by tradition, and it did not forgive disruptions. Elara had been a disruption from the moment she was born. She was raised in a quiet village called Beryl's Hollow, far from the coast, where people farmed more than they dreamed. Her guardian, an aging herbalist named May, taught her to read, to knead bread with strong fingers, and to hide a blade under her hem. No one spoke of Valamont there. No one dared. But Elara dreamed of towers, of questions that never got answers, of a woman with grief behind her smile. That woman now lay dying. The queen's chambers were dim. The scent of lavender could not hide the closeness of death. Queen Lysandra lay like a ghost among silk pillows, her crown now little more than memory. "You came," she whispered, eyes barely open. "I did. Too late to know me," the queen murmured, "but just in time to take what's yours. I didn't come for that." "No," said the queen, her lips trembling, "but you must leave with it. The throne is empty. My council is filled with wolves, and there is no heir. But you—" "Silence. They made me give you up," Lysandra said, tears catching in her throat. "I wanted to fight, but I was 18, foolish, and in love with a man who could never be king. They forced me to say you died in the night, but I watched from afar, always." Elara stepped closer, heart pounding. "Who was he?" "Your father." A faint smile. "A scholar. He taught me poetry and how to lie without guilt." The queen took her daughter's hand, pressing something into her palm. "My signet. You'll need it before they try to bury you too." Moments later, the queen drew her final breath. The fire hissed. Somewhere down the corridor, bells rang once, then fell silent. The council convened before dusk. Lord Cedric was first to rise, voice like cracked stone. "We mourn our queen, but let us not insult her memory with fantasy. She had no child." "She had one," Elara said, stepping forward. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled behind her back. "You just didn't see her, or chose not to." Gasps rippled. "And what proof have you?" Lady Imogen sneered. "A convenient tale and a face we don't know." Elara opened the queen's journal and placed it on the table. Inside, a royal vow signed with the king's seal. Dated, hidden, real. Chancellor Darren squinted, then paled. "It's her signature." And his Cedric rose again. "She's an imposter." "I was hidden," Elara said, "because the truth was dangerous. But now that the queen is gone, I will no longer remain quiet." "And what do you know of ruling?" he barked. "I know what it means to survive." That night, courtiers whispered like frightened birds. The queen's death was fresh, but scandal tasted sweeter than grief. In the library, Elara stood alone, rereading her mother's final letter. She didn't hear the footsteps until a voice spoke behind her. "You don't look like a queen." She turned. A young man leaned against the archway, arms crossed. His tunic bore the colors of House Cedric. "Prince Thalen," she said. "You know me, then. I know your father's voice carries more venom than sense." He smirked. "And yours carries more fight than fear. You might last longer than I thought." "I intend to," she said, closing the book. He didn't move. "You believe you'll be accepted?" "No," she said. "I believe I was born for this." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Maybe that's enough." The next morning, Elara walked the palace halls under heavy stares. Some curious, some cold, most confused. But she walked with her chin high. She passed portraits of kings, none of whom smiled. Past servants who lowered their eyes. Every step felt like a test, and every test she met with silence. At noon, Cedric convened the court. A crown was brought forth, a throne made ready. "We cannot afford chaos," he declared. "Let the queen be honored, but let her son be crowned." "But she had no son," a voice cried. The chamber doors groaned open. Elara entered in a gown of ash-gray silk. The queen's signet shone at her throat. Sir Corwin flanked her. "By the Queen's hand and the King's vow, I claim what is mine." Cedric's face darkened. Thalen stood. "I yield." "What?" Cedric shouted. "She is the rightful heir," Thalen said. "If the crown demands truth, then let us begin there." The court erupted, but Darren lifted the royal seal. "The law is clear, and she bears the mark." Cedric lunged, too late. Guards restrained him. His scream echoed off the stone. Elara sat upon the throne. No music played, no petals fell. But she was crowned all the same, not as a daughter, but as a storm. The day after her coronation, Elara woke before the bells. She dressed without a maid, combed her own hair, and drank cold tea alone. There was no joy in being queen. Not yet, only silence. Outside her window, the palace courtyards bloomed with lilies. Inside, it bloomed with suspicion. They bowed when they passed her now, but not from respect, from habit, from fear. She'd learned the difference in Beryl's Hollow. By mid-morning, she sat in the Eastern Council room alone except for Corwin and 2 scribes. The others had been delayed, all of them, except Cedric, who entered last, his footsteps unhurried, his face calm. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing. "You wear the crown well." Elara met his gaze. "And you wear your patience like a mask." He smiled, but his eyes did not. "We are a kingdom that fears change. Perhaps now it needn't." "That depends," she said, "on whether it fears truth more." For the next 2 weeks, Elara listened more than she spoke. She reviewed taxes, revised contracts, read laws that hadn't been enforced in decades. She did not sleep much. When she walked the halls, whispers followed like dust in a shaft of sunlight. Lady Imogen hosted a banquet in her honor. No toast was raised, but the wine flowed freely, enough to loosen tongues. "She looks like a mother. She walks like a servant. I heard she was raised by a witch in the woods. She'll marry someone. They always do. Someone. Someone the court could control. Someone pliable." Cedric raised a glass across the table. "Your Majesty must be weary." "Only of voices that sound like knives." He laughed gently. "I've heard steel is the easiest language for a kingdom to understand." That night, in the quiet of her chambers, Elara stood before the fire. Corwin entered without knocking. "Your Grace, there's something you should see," handed her a sealed letter. The wax bore Cedric's crest. Inside, 1 line. "A kingdom is only as strong as the man who steadies its queen." She didn't flinch, didn't burn it, just folded it back and said, "He moves too soon." Corwin hesitated. "What if he already has?" She stared into the flames. "Then let him. Let's see what sort of man he sends." He arrived 3 days later. Lord Tristan Vane of House Edel. Younger son. No fortune, no title beyond his name, but handsome, clever, and freshly returned from a 3-year diplomatic tour in the East. He bowed low when he met her. "Your Majesty, I'm at your service." Elara studied him. "Is that your voice or Cedric's?" He smiled. "Does it matter if my loyalty becomes yours?" "It matters a great deal." But she let him stay. Tristan was soft-spoken, well-read, and irritatingly observant. He never overstepped, but never vanished either. He walked with her through the gardens, quoted foreign poets at dinners, and taught her chess in the quiet hours of the afternoon. "Why did you accept the offer to come here?" she asked one evening. He moved a bishop and said, "Because no man denies Cedric without consequence." "And what does Cedric gain?" He looked up. "A woman softened by affection, a queen who leans on another." Elara didn't reply, but she stopped the game and stared at the board long after he left. Weeks passed. The kingdom began to murmur less and obey more. The roads were repaired, taxes balanced, bread returned to the poorer towns. And yet, something inside her shifted. Tristan brought her books without being asked, laughed at her dry humor, listened when she spoke, not to respond, but to understand. That night she couldn't sleep. Cedric noticed. He watched them from corners, from galleries, from silence. And when he could no longer ignore the look in Tristan's eyes, he summoned him. "She's not for you," Cedric said plainly. "Then why send me?" Cedric folded his hands. "Because love makes queens weak. You were to win her, marry her, leave her with a child, and then leave." Tristan's jaw clenched. "And the land? Yours, after she yields the crown. She will. Love makes fools of even the fiercest women." But Tristan said nothing. That silence was enough. Cedric's gaze darkened. "You feel for her?" Tristan turned to leave. Cedric said, "Then you'll die with her." He drafted a new plan. Ilara had grown used to Tristan at her side. He never crossed lines, never asked more than she gave, but he was steady and quiet and close enough to make her wonder. One evening in the Queen's private garden, she asked, "Do you think I'm a fool for loving a kingdom that nearly destroyed me?" He looked at her, really looked. "No, I think you're the only one strong enough to love it back into peace." She turned away before he could see her tears. They did not kiss, but they stood too close for too long, and Cedric saw. He couldn't afford sentiment, not now. His plan had once been clean. Insert the man, secure the crown, discard the queen. But now? Tristan lingered too long in her presence. His glances softened, his voice bent when he said her name. That wasn't part of the arrangement, so Cedric poisoned the food taster. A new one arrived the next day, young, quiet, with eyes that never lifted. His name was Bram, and he said little. That was good. No one trusted talkative servants. Tristan didn't notice, but Ilara did. She had grown up reading faces, reading silences. Something in the boy's stillness unnerved her. He was too careful, too invisible. Still, the days moved on. Tristan stayed near. Not too near, but near enough. He never touched her, never asked. But when he handed her a cup, he watched too long. When she laughed, he looked away too late. She noticed. So did the court. Lady Imogen whispered that he would propose by summer. Lord Kendrick joked of cradle airs. And Ilara? She said nothing. She stared longer at the fire, slept shorter hours, smiled less, trusted no one, not even herself. One morning, Corwin stepped inside without knocking, his face pale. "They've changed the taster," he said. "I know." He blinked. "And you allowed it?" "It's not about the boy," she said. "It's about who placed him." "Cedric." She nodded. "He knows." Corwin hesitated. "Do you feel anything for him?" "Tristan." She stared out the window. "Too much." That night, dinner was quiet. The meal came late. Bram stood still in the corner. Ilara's cup was poured first. Tristan reached for it. "No," she said. "Let it sit." He paused. "Is something wrong?" "Answer a question," she said. "Truthfully." He nodded. "Why did you come to me?" Silence. Then, "Because Cedric promised me land and a future, and because I was nothing." She didn't look away. "And now," he stepped closer, "now I would give it all back." She picked up the cup and set it aside. "Then tell me what Cedric will do next." That night, Cedric was arrested, not by soldiers, by Ilara herself. She walked into his study in silence, flanked by Corwin and a half-dozen guards. Cedric rose slowly. "I wondered when you'd come. You sent a boy to poison me." "No," Cedric said. "I sent him to poison both of you." Tristan stepped forward, fists clenched. "Do you think I wanted your death, boy?" "No. I wanted her weak, and you out of the way. A queen pregnant with a traitor's child. Who would listen to her then?" Ilara's eyes darkened. "You underestimate what a woman carries." Cedric smiled faintly. "And you underestimate what grief becomes when left alone too long." He was taken to the dungeons. That evening, Ilara walked alone. Tristan waited by the fountain. He didn't speak, just offered a seat. She took it. "I don't forgive you," she said. He nodded. "I don't deserve it, but I believe you." Her voice cracked. "And that may be worse." He didn't touch her, just sat beside her as still as stone. And when the bells rang at midnight, neither of them moved. 6 months passed. The palace changed. Not in banners or laws, but in something quieter. The air, the weight in people's eyes, the way they spoke her name. Not with fear, but with expectation. Ilara had not left. She had not crumbled. She had not cried in public. She had not bled where they could see. She ruled. Cedric remained in the dungeons, though some nobles urged mercy. Others begged for execution. Ilara gave neither. "Let him sit," she said. "Let time do what steel cannot." And as for Tristan, he left. Not in disgrace, not by force. He asked to go, said he needed to reclaim the name he'd tarnished. Said, "When I return, I want to be a man who deserves your trust, without earning it through lies." She did not stop him, but she watched him go. And when the gates closed behind him, she stood there longer than pride would allow. Winter crept over Valamont like ink in water, slow. Then everywhere, the courtyards froze. The servants grew quiet. The throne room echoed with fewer steps, but the queen remained. One morning a letter arrived. It bore the seal of the eastern borderlands, not a threat, not a declaration, a request. Trade terms, escort security. Elara read it twice. It was not signed by a diplomat. It was signed, Lord Tristan Vane, Regent of Eastmark. Corwin raised an eyebrow. He's made something of himself. Or he always was something, she murmured. Weeks passed. She sent a reply. Formal, distant, clear. But at the end, she wrote, "If you return, bring honesty. That is the only tribute this court accepts." Spring thawed the stones. The bells rang louder. The people smiled more easily. And one morning, as the sun kissed the frost off the outer walls, a rider crossed the gates. He wore no crest, no armor, just a cloak of dark wool and a hand upon his heart. Elara was not waiting. She was already walking the garden paths, alone. When she turned the corner and saw him, she did not gasp, did not run, but her hand trembled at her side. "You came," she said. "I said I would." He bowed, not deeply, not as a subject, but as a man who once lost something he didn't want to lose again. She stepped forward. "Why now?" "Because I finally believe I am more than what I was." She nodded, looked away. "This kingdom is tired of liars. Then let me speak with truth, one sentence at a time, for however long it takes." A pause. Then, "Walk with me." They did. Past the tulip beds, past the broken marble bench, past the old tree where her mother once sat. They didn't speak, not for a long time, until she whispered, "Do you know what this place cost me? Everything. No, not everything, just everything I thought I was." He looked at her. "And what are you now?" "Still learning." He didn't take her hand. He didn't have to. By dusk, the sky turned amber. A servant approached. "Your Majesty, the council is waiting." She nodded, turned to Tristan. "Will you stay?" He met her eyes. "Until you send me away, or I grow old waiting for your hand." She almost smiled. "Then stay." They walked back into the palace, shoulder to shoulder, no fanfare, no coronation, just a queen, and the man who dared love her honestly.